Hey guys, I'm AfroGeek PlusUltraNappy. Welcome back to a brand new video. So, in today's video, I am bringing you guys some videos for Black History Month. I know a while ago, I believe last year to be exact, I talked about how I wanted to do some Black History Month themed videos for the channel. Never did, but this year I'm finally bringing that here to life with a bunch of different topics I plan on sharing all over this channel this month. Starting off with a review for a series that I have been dying to talk about for the longest time. You guys have seen me do a video on it. It's actually one of my most popular uploads. With that being said, I'm going to be reviewing for you guys today Static Shock Season 1. You know, everybody kind of knows about Static Shock. If you don't know, then you're lacking. But Static Shock is a young African-American teen from Dakota City, and he happens to be from the DC universe, and he has the powers of, I guess, electro-telekinesis sort of kind of thing. All right, so Static Shock was created by Dwayne McDuffie, Dennis Cohen, Michael Davis, and Derek Dingle, and it was based on Static by the Milestone Media comic series. It was known for creating numerous Black superheroes like Icon, who's another big popular one, and a couple others listed here on the screen. So the series has a total of 4 seasons. So its original release was from September 23rd, 2000 till May 22nd, 2004. And its production companies were DC Comics and Warner Brothers Animation. And the original network it aired on was Kids WB. Everybody knows Kids WB. If you grew up in the 90s and very early 2000s and you know Kids WB, you know how popular it was. Heartbroken we were to find out when Kids WB was being taken away from us. God, Kids WB had so much to offer, and I plan on doing a big video going over the history of Kids WB sometime later this year, but for now, we're gonna focus on one of its superstars, Static Shock. So this season in particular aired from September 23rd, 2000 till May 12th, 2001. This series has a good cast roster as far as the voice actors provided for this show, such as Phil Lamar, who voices Virgil Hawkins, aka Static Shock. We got James Marsden, Richard Osgood, goes by Richie Foley, aka Gear. Then you got Kevin Michael Richardson as Robert Hawkins, Static's father, Michelle Morgan as Sharon Hawkins, who is Static's sister, Kadeem Hardson as Adam Evans, aka Rubber Band Man, Gary Anthony Sturgis as Ivan Evans, aka Ebon. Just a side note, there will be spoilers in this series review. I know I probably may have put something in the beginning stating that, just to let you guys know if you really weren't paying attention, if you just kind of skimmed through that, there will be spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, go watch the current season, not current. So if you don't want to be spoiled, go watch season 1, then head back to this video. That way you don't get spoiled or anything. Otherwise, please continue enjoying the video. So with this first season, just like any other shows, you get introduced to numerous characters like the ones I just listed. You know, you get introduced to how Virgil Hawkins became Static Shock. Now in this season, you don't particularly get to see how Richie becomes Gear. I believe he becomes Gear in season 3. So let's go ahead and let's jump into my favorite episodes from season 1. Starting off with episodes 1 and 2, Shock to the System and Aftershock. So no brainer, it's the first 2 episodes of a series, which gives us a good character description of the characters we will be seeing throughout the show. Plus, we discover the true origin of how things led to people in the city of Dakota gaining supernatural abilities. The episodes kind of start off, you see that Virgil is just your typical teenage boy. You know, he's smart, he gets good grades, he has a good group of friends, but you know, he also runs into bullies such as Hot Streak. And Hot Streak, you know, he is not the best guy, and you'll find out more as the series progresses. But Static also is equated with another group of people that you see in the very beginning who, I guess, kind of protect him, but in a sense, they kind of get tired of always having to protect him. So therefore, they kind of want Static to join their gang. So Hot Streak is affiliated with an opposite gang that rivals the gang that they want Static to join. So very early on in the series, you get introduced to topics such as gangbanging. Y'all should know what gangbanging means. I ain't finna sit here and tell y'all should know. They hand Static a gun at one point, and that's very controversial for Kids WB, especially in the 2000s. Now, in the 2000s, you can get away with a lot of stuff. This is for us talking right here. Us talking right now. You know, white folks don't like that shit. That's why I'm surprised Static lasts for 4 seasons. When you look back, giving a kid a gun, talk about gangbanging, that's tough. And that's some like real stuff. So what I like about this is that it incorporates real life actual events that can happen with teenagers. You know, that's good, because I feel like kids needed to see that. That way they know like, gangbanging ain't right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad that Kids WB actually allowed this to be aired. Thank you. Not thank you because of the gun, but you know, for teaching kids that gangbanging and guns. You know what I mean? So with that being said, something goes on and an explosion happens and this purplish gas comes out and everybody there starts developing supernatural abilities. Like Hot Streak literally becomes someone who can like shoot fireballs out and can turn into fire. It's weird. And then Static gains his electromagnetic powers to like move stuff, kind of like telekinesis with the mixture of electricity. So this is kind of why I liked the first 2 seasons, because you kind of get to see in the first season how, again, everybody gains supernatural abilities in Dakota, aka becoming bang babies. And then in the second episode, you kind of get to see Virgil become more equipped with being the alter ego Static Shock. I mean, you already see that in the first episode, but you really kind of get the more of the Static Shock vibe that you will be seeing throughout the series. He's very witty, very smart, and Static's tough too. For a kid who just literally is becoming a superhero, he caught on quick. So then we briefly move on to episode 3, The Breed. And with this series, one thing I like about is that it broadcasts how regular kids, such as the person who's in this episode who becomes, I guess, a quote-unquote villain, Derek Barnett, who was a popular jock at the school, and he ends up becoming this weird creature thing. But it shows how scary it is to live with metahuman abilities that you can't control and don't know how to properly control. And you see that Ebon quickly tries to get Derek to join their crew, and Derek does, and Static's trying to talk to him and tell him, you know, hey man, this ain't you, you know, like you gotta ditch this crew, like they nothing but bad news. But yeah, Derek was just someone who was a jock who, you know, had to get his grades up. Static was helping tutor him. He was afraid that people weren't gonna like him. He was afraid his mom was gonna be scared of him. But in the end, Static kind of talked him out of doing what he was supposed to do. He joined sides of Static. They took down Ebon and his crew, and he went to a facility to get the help that he needed. It was really sweet because it showed him in his monster form hugging his mom, as anyone else would do. You would get scared and think, oh man, what if people are gonna think I'm a freak? What if people aren't gonna accept me for who I am? What if my mom won't love me? You know what I mean? Stuff like that that makes a kid really kind of messed up in the head. So now we move on to episode 5. They're playing myself. So this is the episode where we first get the introduction of Rubber Band Man. His real name is Ivan Evans, but he goes by Rubber Band Man. And this dude essentially is an up-and-coming rapper who was popular, and he ends up being a bang baby. He's able to stretch his body around kind of like Plastic Man. You would think he becomes a hero. No, Rubber Band Man becomes
a villain
who Static has to face off with in this episode. And you know, like every episode, Static does defeat him. It ain't nothing special. You just get the introduction to Rubber Band. Well, let me not say it ain't nothing special, because obviously I put it in one of my favorite episodes. So you get episode 8, Son of the Fathers. For a network such as Kids WB, it's one of the only few shows I think on this network in particular that really touches on how powerful racism is and can be, and how it affects people such as me and other races out there. But you know, in this episode, it's more on us. So it's a very powerful, eye-opening episode. It really messed with me when I was watching it. Like, I mean, I was like, damn. And as a kid, you don't really process stuff like this. I mean, obviously they teach you this stuff in school, but I feel like kids at a younger age, which I'm glad it's starting to become more equated and, you know, it's more taught and educated in schools. Back then, as a kid, you really weren't knowing about racism, you know, unless it was in your social studies class and you were learning about racism and slavery and all that stuff. I'm sure kids probably weren't seeing it. Not every kid was. Some kids probably were victims of racism. In this episode, Static is, or I should say Virgil Hawkins is. Pretty much what goes on in this episode is Virgil asks Richie if he could sleep over at his house tonight, and Richie's kind of like, dude, I don't really know if that's such a good idea. I don't think my pops is gonna be cool with it. And Virgil was like, oh, you know, don't sweat it, man. You know, adults love me. I got you. You know, your pops will turn around and he'll really get to know me and like me. So they're at Richie's house. They're sitting there eating dinner. And you can kind of tell things are kind of off by the energy at the table. You can see Richie's kind of like very quiet at first, and then their mom is very quiet, and their dad is also extremely quiet. You know, Virgil's trying to talk to the parents. The mom's cool. The dad's kind of talking to him a bit, but not really being too talkative. You really get the idea of who's the racist one once Richie and Virgil start talking about this new hip-hop CD that's getting ready to come out by one of their favorite hip-hop artists, and his dad just goes on this rant about how he doesn't like hip-hop and how he does not want that music in his house. So right then and there, that should be an indicator that it's Richie's dad who is racist. You know, if I didn't state it earlier, then, you know, it's given once you watch the episode. So later on, after everyone's eating dinner, Richie and Virgil are talking in Richie's bedroom, and Virgil just says, hey man, I'm gonna go brush my teeth real quick, I'll be right back. So he goes out in the hallway, and as he's about to approach the bathroom, he overhears a conversation with Richie's parents. With that being said, you know, his mom is trying to tell him, you know, that, hey, relax, it's okay. Virgil's a good kid. And his dad goes on about how bad enough that I gotta work with him, be around them, but now I got one of them in my house. And so after Virgil hears this, he does what any other kid would do, they get they shit and they leave the house. So Richie kind of finds out that Virgil knows that his dad is racist. So then Richie goes on this big rant towards his dad, talking about you and this stupid racism. You know, because of you, I now have lost my best friend. And so Richie storms off, goes missing. Mr. Osgood, Richie's dad, goes to Mr. Hawkins to look for Richie because he knows that's where the community center is. Virgil's dad runs the community center. Richie's dad's already like, oh my gosh, a black person. So Mr. Hawkins goes on and tries to talk to him and say, you know, we're not all portrayed in the way you may think. Different. We're all the same people, roaming the earth, breathing the same air. And then, you know, Mr. Hawkins is getting blamed for Richie going missing. And, you know, Mr. Hawkins ain't gonna take that lightly, so he lets him have it. They eventually work together to go look for Richie. And then Static ends up saving Richie's dad from Ebon and his crew, essentially. And then I think Static also kind of tells him a little thing or two about what it's like to be a racist and how you shouldn't be. And so afterwards, you know, they were supposed to go to a Comic-Con together. Richie's dad brings Richie to meet up with Virgil and his dad at a Comic-Con. Him and his dad talk things out. He apologizes. You know, he also apologizes for the way for what he said about Virgil, and that he kind of learns that racism isn't good. Essentially, racism is bad. Don't be racist. And again, a very eye-opening thing for kids WB to do. Then we move on to the last episode of season 1 called Junior. So episode 11, titled Junior, discusses the struggles of child and parent relationships and the starts of the evil beginnings from Edwin Alva. Someone that you'll see maybe a few times in the series, not so many, but he has a son called Edwin Jr., who really, he just wants to spend some time with his father, and his dad just keeps pushing him away, and he ends up becoming this very, very powerful bang baby, to where at one point he can't control his powers and he turns into stone. And no matter what his dad tries to do, no matter what technology, what science, none of that can turn his son back. And so Edwin starts to get this hatred for Static, and the two of them duke it out right after, you know, Edwin Jr. and Static duke it out. You know, it's one of those episodes that kind of teaches you, you know, hey, pay attention to your kid. He could become a metahuman and destroy the whole city. But overall, guys, that is the end for the Static Shock Season 1 review. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, dislike if you didn't, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new. This is just the first of many. We're going to continue the series where I will be talking about Static Shock Season 2, and I'm really glad you guys enjoy the videos and the content on the channel. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, showing me love and support. If you want to connect more with me on my social media, links are in the description below. I'm talking Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Reddit. And if you want to see more content from me, link in the description below is my main channel, PokemonTany6. And alrighty, guys, I am AfroGeek +UltraNappy, and your boy is shut.